Good evening. Welcome to our class today. Today I'm handling the last topic of supply chain management information systems. And this topic is about supply chain information systems security management. So this topic we are basically looking at how to secure your systems, as simple as that. Because a system is very vulnerable. Remember, there is a time we looked at the methods of acquiring a system. And one method was off the shelf. Off the shelf method is where you go and buy a ready-made system. These systems are used by so many other organizations. They are known by so many other people. So the weaknesses of such a system is known. Another alternative is to outsource. Another alternative is to make yourself or make in-house. So whichever method you choose, every system will come with the vulnerabilities. Every system is vulnerable. And this is now the importance of this topic, because you can be able now to know what makes a system to be vulnerable and what are the security requirements, what are the security breaches, and how do we limit security breaches. So first and foremost, or so important, you should be able to know what are the security breaches. Once you know the security breaches, we can be able now to say how we can be able to limit such breaches. So if we can start, we shall look at basic terms, of course, and then we go to information system security goals. Every information system has security goals. A good system should provide you with good goals. Goals like confidentiality. A good system should be confidential. It should have the aspect of integrity, availability, authenticity. Authenticity is the ability to identify the identity of a person using a system. Obligation and then authorization. All those are characteristics or basically security goals in any information system. Then we go ahead and look at threats and vulnerability. There is a difference between a threat and a vulnerability. A threat, let me separate them now. A threat is a person or an event that has the potential for impacting a valuable resource in a negative manner. So it could be a person, it could be an event. Something that can happen that can affect the system in a negative manner. That is a system threat. A vulnerability is the quality of a resource or its environment that allows the threat to be realized. So it means if you compromise your system, that is a vulnerability. Maybe if you do not update your system, that is not a threat, that is a vulnerability that gives way to a threat. So if a system is vulnerable, then a person or an event can easily affect the system. So once you know that, we have to come back and understand what are the hardware vulnerabilities. Like a hardware vulnerability is having an old-fashioned device or unprotected storage. All those are hardware vulnerabilities. We have software vulnerabilities. We have network vulnerabilities and protected network. Some networks you can just enter into the way you want. That is a vulnerability to the network. And then we have the procedural vulnerability. So all those are vulnerable. We shall look at examples. If we talk about a software vulnerability, what do we mean? But if you know what a vulnerability is, different, and what a threat is, then you can really understand the difference between the two. And then next we shall look at the security requirements. Things like confidentiality, integrity, authorization, authenticity. We have already looked at them briefly. Non-repudiation, availability. Yeah, those we call them security requirements. Every system has to have those security requirements. If I can briefly talk about them, every system should be confidential. It should allow you to share information which is just necessary. You cannot overshare information. You have to keep information confidential. Every system should be able to do that. Integrity, every system should have integrity. The integrity is the capacity to ensure that the content displayed or received over the internet has not been tampered with in any way. We can be able to say a system is of high integrity. Authorization, it means a person has to be authorized to use a system. I cannot enter into your system anyhow. I'm a stranger, I come and access your system. That is lack of authorization. Authenticity, it is the ability for you to determine the identity of a person using your system. That is what we call authenticity. And then non-repudiation, it refers to the capability of ensuring that participants do not reject their online action. If I do something, if I give authority for something to be done, then I should not go back and say it was not me. That is what we call non-repudiation. Every system should have the ability to identify what someone is doing on that system. And then availability. So it should ensure that information is available when it is required. Now we go straight to the security breaches. What is a security breach? Going against the security or making a system to be at risk. What can be done to make a system be at risk? We call them breaches, sometimes we call them threats, or sometimes we call them risks. One of them is malicious code. Malicious code is one of the security risk or threats. What is a malicious codes? There are very many of them. We have a virus, we have worms, we have Trojan horse. We shall look at them in detail. Like a virus is the ability of a computer program to replicate itself and make copies of itself and spread to other files. So you go on opening a file, you find it has been corrupted. That is what you call a virus. The second category is piracy and cyber vandalism. Here we have hackers, we have crackers, and we have cyber vandalism. We shall be able to see the difference. Like a hacker is a person who tries to gain unauthorized access to a computer system. We call them a hacker. Number 3, we have credit card related fraud. Number 4, we have denial of service attack. This is now where you tear down the network and have it denied service to legitimate users. So you interfere with the network so that legitimate users cannot be able to access it. The other one is phishing, the other one is spoofing, the other one is sniffing. We shall look at them one by one. Insider jobs. Sometimes you'll find someone was working in that company, they are no longer working, so they decide to leak the information system, to leak the details of the system that is being used to hackers, and then people come and take over your system. So all those are threats, or sometimes we call risks. Security issues in supply chain information system. Security issues are things like network security, interoperability, identification, usability, privacy, and function creep. How do we limit security breaches? This is very important. Now that you know the security breaches are there and this is what they are, now how do you limit? One is identity and authentication management. Ability to know what a person is, who they are. So you don't just deal with anyone using your network. Make sure you can authenticate. Number 2, you can do data encryption. I'll explain these things in detail. Number 3, you can use the public key infrastructure. Number 4, you can use the firewall. Number 5, you can use digital signatures. Number 6, digital certificates. Number 7, anti-intrusion system. A system that can be able to detect an intruder. We call it an anti-intrusion system. Next is antivirus. Most of us have met antiviruses somewhere. So all those are ways you can be able to limit the risks that we have just looked at before. And then we have managerial security risk mitigation measures. What can management do? They can do the physical security. They can ensure there is physical security. They close the doors, ensure that nobody enters into the system who is not. So they monitor the system. And then they can do backup in case information gets lost. They have a backup somewhere. They can be able to assess the risk, and they can also be able to put in place policies and procedures related to security. And they can do disaster recovery planning. So management has a lot to do to make sure that their systems are not compromised. And then they can also do business continuity planning. And then finally, we have audits of the information system. They need to have continuous auditors of the system to make sure that the system is audited continuously. An auditor, either internal or external, can come look at the system once in a while to see if there is any problem with the system. So reasons for conducting audit, activities of auditing, all those is part of the audit. Advantages of auditing, benefits of auditing, and audit trail. How do you conduct an audit trail? Types of auditing, internal and external. All that is part of making sure your system is not compromised in one way or another. Of course, benefits of an audit trail in procurement, and that will be it. So by the time we're done with this topic, you should have understood how to secure your systems.